Today we're going to give you a demonstration on this Okamoto. This is a model Grindex, and it's a 8x20 DX model, meaning it's got the electronic downfeed, semi-programmable downfeed, 3-axis automatic. So you could certainly move the table back and forth with the hand wheel. You have your cross slide in and out here. And you do have a readout for that. We can set back to 0 and move it in and out. You also have a fine feed dial on here, where if you were going up against the shoulder, you can make a finer movement with the cross slide. Okay, that's a little special for this particular machine. They don't all have this. Below the hand wheels is your hydraulic controls for the table on and off and the speed of the table. This is for your cross slide. Whether you're going to go incremental steps or full continuous, or in the middle position it's actually off. And this knob here sets this step that the saddle moves each time. Over here is the coolant system. It's got a vacuum on it. You can hook a hose up to the top of the wheel guard here and suck up some dirt and water and mist or what have you. This machine is currently wired for 440 volts, 3-phase. The hydraulics are on. I'm going to go ahead and start the spindle. That's the spindle. We're going to start up the table. So you got your table going back and forth. To use the manual hydraulically, you have to pull this out. And now you see we start to move the cross saddle on its own. Now the step that it's making here is controlled by how much you have that set at. The actual returning back and forth is set by a set of dogs on the side, very similar to the 2 dogs in the front that set the length of the table stroke. You also have 2 dogs here that set the length or depth of your saddle movement. Okay? So we want to stop the table. You have a stop button here, and the table comes to a stop. Okay, you also have a rapid movement up and down of the wheel slide. We want to go up, and we can set this to 0. We want to go down. You also have the next setting over here for the manual pulse generator. So you can control this in increments of 5/10 or 1/2 tenth, 1/10, and then thousandths. So it's pretty fine there. Then you have an edit mode and a program mode. Over here you have your emergency stop. You have your start the hydraulics, start the spindle, start the coolant. Here again, you wrap it up and down. Over here is a jog for your feed. Up here you have a selection for the mode, whether you're grinding surface grinding, meaning going back and forth with the table, or possibly you're only grinding a groove or a slot or a plunge grind. You also have a plunge grinding mode. Over here, these 6 dials refer to your programming. You have 2 feeds. You have a coarse feed and you have a fine feed. You put in the coarse feed and you put in the fine feed, and there's a changeover point in between. So I'm going to start out feeding in at 5/10 each increment, each back and forth each time it feeds. And when I get to a certain point, 1/1000ths here I've set above my 0 size, I'm going to come in taking 2/10 off at a time. So I'm going to put it in the plunge grind mode right now, because that's a little bit easier for the video. So we start the table. We're starting here at 0. So the operator has to touch off his part and come down here. You know, let's pretend we're doing it. We come down, we touch our workpiece, we 0, and we measure, and we put in the actual value. Let's say it's going to be 10/1000ths that we want to take off. So you see I have 10/1000ths up here. Well, now once I start my cycle by going to the run position, which is here, we're going to feed down 1/1000ths each pass. until we get to 1,000ths, and then we're going to start feeding at the finer feed. Then we're going to do some spark out passes, and it parks. Down here you have a knob to select how many passes you want. Now this is only a one-shot program. Now that it's gotten down to 0, it hasn't retained that memory. It's gone to 0, and then what you need to do is take your parts off the machine, load your new parts on, come down, touch off, put whatever value it is that you need to put in here. It doesn't have to be something even. It could be you know, whatever you need to take off, and then when you start your cycle, start your table going, and then it doesn't have a cycle start button. It's actually just moving from the edit mode here into the automatic mode. So now we'll start to feed down until it gets to 0. Do some spark out passes and then park. Now I believe in the manual it does tell you how you can change the side that this parks on. I would prefer that it parked on the other side. Some might like it on this side, but you could set it so it can do that. All right, so if you want to do surface, now we got to go with this mode selector over to the symbol that shows you the saddle is being used. And again, we'll put some kind of a number in here. You got to go to your edit mode. I don't want to be here all day, so I'll put in 6,000ths. Not even. I'll put in 4,000ths. And we'll start our table moving. Now we're going to have the CROSSFEED working. As soon as I flip this down into the automatic mode, we're going to take off 1,000ths here. The 4 is going to go to a 3. This is just for the video. That's a lot of stock removal right there, but this is just for the video. So once we reverse again, we're going to go down to 2, and so on until we get to 1. And then we're going to go into our fine increment. Now, if you didn't want to use 2 different feeds, you just set them both at the same. So now we're at 1,000ths below or above size, and we start feeding in. Now we got 5/10ths left on the part, 3/10ths left on the part. So it's taking 2/10ths each time until it makes it to 0. And when it gets to 0, it does the spark out. In this case, it's going to go back and forth, one complete cycle to the rear and back to the front again before it's over. And that's with this on the number 1. If we can go to 2, 3, 4, or 5 to increase the length of time of the spark out cycle. This machine is really clean and quiet and nice. There you go. So that's the Okamoto Grindex. This is an 820 size capacity. This is 20 by 8. This is a fine division, fine pole, electromatic chuck, which is turned on and off here. You got a variable setting, or you can keep it as full for heavier work. When we want to dislocate, demagnetize our part, that's the demag cycle. And that's it. Thank you very much.